Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first Scottish Viva MK Millionaires Christmas special. And the vibrant room today, I'm really excited. We've got an amazing agenda today. Really, people who have achieved things in the first month of the Viva MK business, outstanding results, and you're going to hear from some special people today. I'm not going to say them, I'm going to introduce one at a time, but we're going to start with a lady who's absolutely terrified here. Who, as far as I believe, she's never ever was one ever to speak in public on stage, and said she would never do it. It's amazing, you know, what my woman Lyall can do. She's up here on stage. She's terrified, so be careful with her. But Janet's speaking today for two reasons. One reason, a few weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, she set a goal. And her goal was to earn over £1,000 in her first month in Viva MK. Because we teach you how to get that income story. Your first month's income story is the foundation that your business is built on. And so Janet wanted £1,000 plus check. And she was going to be doing it mainly with catalogues. And she set the goal. She put her plan in place, she stuck to it, and she achieved it. But a phenomenal result. I met this lovely lady in Mexico, and we had a few glasses of wine, a few lectures, and a great time over there. She'll probably tell you a little bit about it. But she's absolutely outstanding. I want to hear a big, huge Scottish, English, Irish, because I don't know who's here, everybody online, and Welsh welcome for Janet Lyall, Premier Distributor.
Lynn's just stolen half my talk, so that's good. Right, as Lynn says, I've never done this before, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm a little bit nervous, but good afternoon, everybody, and I hope you're having a great day.
Good afternoon, Janet.
Right, now I've got to learn how to use this, haven't I? Yeah, no, but I kind of was a bit panicking.
Next one.
Right, that's it. Retail is king, fantastic. Now, as Martin Luther King would say, I have a dream, and I'm not afraid of hard work to achieve it. Who else has a dream? Only half of you, that's not good. Okay, well, I'll tell you a little bit about mine later. But first of all, a little bit of background from me. Now, I've worked all my life, but in different industries. I started work at the age of 15, working as a Saturday girl in a hairdressing shop. I've worked in an accountant's, a butcher's shop, a baker's shop, but not in a candlestick maker's. I've worked in a fish factory, cleaned a school, I've been a taxi driver, a waitress, and I've sold Kirby cleaners. Now, I could never seem to settle to anything, but having gone into work one morning to the butcher's shop, and I actually went in to cover for somebody that was off sick, and I walked past my boss, and I went, "Morning," as I walked past him. And he said, "What's good about it?" And I kind of was a little bit stunned. I think I was about 17, 18 at the time. And I kind of come to the conclusion that I did not want to spend the rest of my life having that kind of a person telling me that sort of thing. I wanted to work for myself. And I knew that one day I would actually find something that I enjoyed doing. Well, Clean Easy came along and it actually suited me down to the ground. And when I first joined, my son was just 2 years old. And I was actually working part-time in a fish and chip shop for Owen's godfather. Now, he kept telling me about a couple he knew called Alison and Tony, who were actually in Clean Easy alongside their teaching jobs. He repeatedly told me how well they were doing and how much money they were making. And this definitely appealed to me, but he didn't say that if I wanted to join, he would let them know and get them to contact me. Now, the moral of this story is make sure that everyone you know, even if they don't want to join themselves, knows that they have to pass on your details to their friends and family. Now, I spoke to my family about Clean Easy, and my ex-sister-in-law and I decided to join. We found a newspaper advert that actually mentioned Clean Easy, and it was the first that Steve and Pam had actually put in that wasn't a blind advert. So we applied. They sent us some information via snail mail, and once we decided it was for us, Steve and Pam came round and signed us up. Imagine their excitement when they asked how many catalogues we wanted, 50 or 200. Well, my answer was 500, please. Now, with this amount of catalogues, and this was where I learned that you had to make and follow a plan, because you can't keep track of what you're doing without one. Now, having been in direct sales beforehand, I'd already read some great books on sales and personal development to help me with this. My favourite book is Attitude is Everything by Jeff Keller. And as far as I'm concerned, that is a must-read book. I wouldn't be stood up here without that book, I can tell you that for nothing. Now, right from day one, I've always been a high retailer, having once retailed over £9,000 in a 4-week period. Thank you. That's not something that I'd want to do on a regular basis via the catalogues, but it was the only way at the time that we could save our home. My ex-partner was a gambler and he wasn't paying the mortgage. So we were about to have our home repossessed. And the cheque that we got that month for over £3,500 was what actually saved our home at that time. When it all started to go wrong again, I decided that I'd actually be better off leaving that particular partner and providing for Owen on my own. Now, I wouldn't mind retailing that amount again, and I'm sure Michael would be over the moon if I did. But I don't want to do it in the same way. After all, I'm not as young as I was. And I think with Facebook selling, when I really know what I'm doing, when I've listened to Louise later, I think anything is possible. Now, I learned about the Directors Club in our previous business, and I instantly decided that this was something that was for the ordinary people, not for the high flyers who were constantly winning holidays and cars. And I told Steve, Pam had unfortunately passed away by this time, that I was going to do it. Now, he knew that if I said it, I meant it. And I was over the moon when I qualified, which I continued to do every year that it was available. Now, the interesting thing, it got easier year on year because my belief was there that I could do it. We all have our own insecurities and doubts, but deep down inside all of us is the knowledge that if we want something badly enough, we can do it. Now, I think Michael Catkar and the 2,000 distributors that signed up for Viva MK on that very first day is proof of that. Thank you, Michael. Now, most people questioned why we picked Viva MK when there were people pitching us from other networks. Why? Because we have belief that Michael Catkar can make a success of this. We had a proven track record in our previous business, and it was nothing to do with Michael or the system. or how we were using it that made our form of business so special. As far as I was concerned, it was the customers. The relationships we have with those customers and the products that we know everybody wants. Now, I say about the relationship and customers, how many times have you tried to get through a gate and it's one of those that you nearly have to lift it off its hinges to actually get through it? Well, that happened to me a few weeks ago. And when I was leaving, the lady stood outside talking to me, and I lifted the gate and it actually came off the hinges. Well, to say I was a little bit embarrassed was an understatement. And she said, don't worry, it's been happening a lot recently. She says, I don't know anybody that could fix it. Well, fortunately, Steve's an engineer, as he likes to tell us. And I made a quick phone call to Steve and I said, very diplomatically, do we know anybody that could fix the lady's gate for her? He said, I'll come round and have a look at it. So now I know next time I go to that house, it's not a problem. I can open the gate as easily as anything. Okay. Now, one of the other things that happened, this is a few years ago, when I was out delivering orders, I actually had a lady collapse on the doorstep when I was delivering her order. And no, it wasn't the shock of how much the order came to. She basically just fell in front of me, and I, very quick thinking, I put her in a recovery position and I called an ambulance and I waited with her. And just as she was about to be carted off to the hospital, her husband turned up and he sort of like, what on earth's going on? Explained to him, and he said, thanks ever so much for staying with her. Now that lady phoned me the following day from the hospital and she was in tears. And she said to me, Janet, she says, I can't show my gratitude enough. She says, I've got a problem with my heart, and the doctors have said that if you hadn't come when you did and phoned the ambulance, I wouldn't have made it. So, as you can imagine, she was exceedingly relieved to see me that day. Now, that's made me, I was going to say, unfortunately, she's since passed away, but also, how many times when there's been thick snow on the ground? Now, I know us down south don't have as much as you lot up here, but I've knocked on so many of my elderly customers' doors and just to check that they're okay, do they need anything, and I've gone shopping for them so that they didn't have to go out. And this is why our business was such a success and why I would never have picked anything else. Okay. Now, when I was asked to go up on stage at Birmingham, I think I was supposed to have clicked there, wasn't I, Steve? Yeah, well done. Last year on the 7th of January, because I was number 7 in the top 10 retailers who'd actually sold the most of the Christmas front cover product. To say the least, I was a little bit gobsmacked. And I can remember Steve saying to me, I thought you said you weren't going to be in the top 10. Well, I was convinced I wasn't. He said, you better get up on that stage quickly. And when all 10 of us were on the stage, we were all given a bottle of champagne. So there's Michael. Sorry, that wasn't me, Michael. I was actually highly delighted because, like I said, I hadn't expected to be there. Michael had this tombola brought on stage with the 10 balls in it, and he opened the little trap door and he started to shuffle the balls around and everything else. And all of a sudden, out popped this ball and it landed at his feet and it broke open, and there's this piece of paper with my name on it. And the prize was a 5-star all-inclusive trip to Secrets Acumel, Riviera Maya in Mexico. Now, remember, things like that didn't happen to me. It wasn't that many years previous from that our home was going to be repossessed. And all of a sudden, I'm winning a trip to Mexico. Well, when Michael passed the microphone to me, all I can remember all I could do was shake and stutter. A bit like how I felt when Lynn said I was doing this training today. But the reason, as I say, the only words that I can actually remember saying to Michael is I better go and get a passport then. The reason I'm telling you about this is sometimes extraordinary things happen to ordinary people. Most importantly of all, this is where I met our wonderful leader, Lynn McDonald. Now, most people that were on the conference were part of a couple. But myself, Dr. McKillen from Northern Ireland, and Lynn were lone distributorships. So we actually spent a lot of time together, much to the amusement of some of the waiters, with our three very different accents. Now, I couldn't believe that Lynn, with her wealth of experience and knowledge, would want to spend so much time with us. But we found out that we had a lot in common. And not just that she also sold Kirby cleaners. Now, you've got to be pretty special to sell a vacuum cleaner to someone in their own home that retailed over £1,000. And in fact, when I quit doing that, they were £1,595. And on this trip, I also got the opportunity at the gala dinner to sit next to our MD, Michael Cathcart. And we were overlooking the beautiful Caribbean Sea, and I just felt what an honour. And he is a true gentleman. Now, remember, things like that didn't happen to me. Those few takes, I knew that was going to happen. Excuse me a moment. Those few days have totally changed my life and my expectations. I will be eternally grateful to my time within our former business and the important lifelong friendships that I've made along the way. For the first time ever, I had someone telling me that I should be a lot further on than gold. Lynn couldn't understand why I hadn't made it any further. Her belief in me was amazing. She even recorded she even recorded a video message on my phone giving me a pep talk, which I can play whenever I think I'm not worthy. As you can imagine, Steve was rather gutted that he hadn't been able to go with me to Mexico, especially as it was actually him that took me and picked me up from the airport. So when I came back, we decided that the time was right to join our teams together. And when Viva MK was first launched and we were given the opportunity to pick a sponsor, there was absolutely no hesitation on whose team we wanted to be in. After all, in our previous team, I didn't get past gold. The major thing here is we don't want to let Lynn down. Her faith in Steve and I is second to none. We have the utmost respect for her and her system, which we are still learning. And I always said that I had no intention of selling on Facebook. But I'm also a firm believer in never asking anybody to do anything that I'm not prepared to do myself. So I have taken the plunge and started. On the 1st of September, when Lynn came down to Luton to do a training for us, she asked what goals we had for the first full month. Well, you know that moment when your mouth springs into action before your brain gets into gear? Well, I had one of those moments. I said our first cheque would be over £1,000. My thinking, as I said it, was in our former business 15 years ago, when I started with my 500 catalogues, my first cheque was over £500. So with an established customer base, £1,000 should be a doddle. Now, looking back to that day, I've realised one thing. If you tell Lynn McDonald anything, beware. Because she will keep reminding you, and she tells everyone else what you're going to do as well. So, if you don't think before you speak, just be careful. And I said I wanted a £1,000 cheque, so I thought I better work out how I was going to achieve it. And this is where I needed a plan. Firstly, I worked out to do it with personal retail, I would need to retail £2,860. So, for good measure, I managed to do £2,908. Just to make sure. Now, the added bonus was when my son Owen, who is now 18, and you would have seen the picture of him when he was about 2 years old earlier, sitting in a Clean Easy cardboard box. Well, when I said to him, I want a picture of you the other day when I was doing this, he said, do you want me to be in this box for you, Mum? He is well over 6 foot and he's really skinny, so we didn't have a problem getting in that box. And also Jeff and Jenny. Now, unfortunately, they are stars as well, but Jeff got taken to hospital this morning, else he would have been here with us today. We're not sure, but we're hoping he's going to be all right. Okay. Now, we smashed through the £1,000 cheque, and we actually earned £1,086 as premiers. There was a lot of hard work in between our holidays. Steve and I do like to take our holidays. We started off with 46 days to achieve this goal because of the extended period that we had. But by the time we took out the 2 weeks in Norfolk on holiday and the week in Lincolnshire, not too far. I was going to say, the week in Lincolnshire when Steve's daughter Kay had a beautiful baby girl, Lily. The weekend we had Lynn staying for the training, and the other 2 weekends where we weren't working, it left just 19 days to earn £1,000. No pressure at all. It's not as if I told Lynn what I was going to do. Now, I had 600 catalogues to work with. My customer base of just over 800 customers. And knowing that the return per catalogue may not be as high as in our previous business, I knew that every customer needed to see the catalogue. I was worried that that might not be enough. So alongside that was a few blanket drops and presenting of the catalogues. Now presenting gave me a few new customers. And the blanket drops, well, all I can say on that one is there is still a work in progress. I had good pickups and bad pickups, but don't we all? But the determination was so strong, I just kept doing more. I was not going to fail. I had committed to it. I was going to make sure that I did it. I hit on the doorstep demos whilst delivering orders and gained extra sales. Now, some of my regular customers who would normally give me really good orders were actually away on holiday, or they were in hospital. So some of my customers ended up getting the catalogue twice with a little plea for help. And as I mentioned previously, I was a Facebook selling virgin before all this started. I even managed to sell about £100 online. The secret is never ever give up. On the Saturday, as the period was finishing, on the Sunday, we held a family barbecue for about 40 people. I spoke to some of those people and we left catalogues lying around all over the house, including one in the bathroom with a few extra order forms, which actually resulted in a few extra sales. And my last order went in on the last day. Now, as I told you earlier, my ex-partner was a gambler. And whilst I was on my own with Owen for a number of years, I knew that it was down to me to make sure that I could keep a roof over our heads. And when you're in this position, you learn that anything is possible if you put the effort in. Fortunately, now I'm with Steve, and his support and belief in me is amazing. And I don't know what I'd do without him. So he better take care of himself, because it was only a week ago he decided to have a little mini stroke. Now, I know that I'm not on my own anymore. I also mentioned that I had a dream. And this is it. I had great pleasure the other day in actually picking those pictures. And I was going to say, a few years ago when I was at school, we actually did a project on New Zealand. And it's a place I've wanted to go to ever since. And I've every intention of visiting it. And as it says there, I'm going to be 60 in the year 2023, and I think that's as good a year as any to go. Now, I want to go for a 6-week holiday. And Lynn told me the other day she might not let us go for that long.
Sorry, it's online.
And I was going to say, I want to tour both the North and the South Islands, and I want to do it in luxury. I've been putting money into a savings account for a while now, and one of those accounts, there's actually £250 every single month going in towards that trip. And this is one of the reasons I need to be earning £1,000 a month. Can't afford to put the savings in otherwise. Now, the good news is, as the team builds, which it's building so quickly at the moment, it's unbelievable, there will be even more money going into that account. Now, that's enough of me. I'm now going to go through my top tips, which I found essential to the success of my business. I'll stop looking at that. If the catalogues are in your house, then they're not going to earn you any money. Get them into the customers' houses. Do not change the system or the day tickets which your sponsor has provided. They've worked perfectly all right for them. They will work for you too. Present yourself and your catalogues in pristine condition. After all, people buy people, and we are representing a brand new company that sells cleaning products, so there's no excuse. Work as close to home as you can. People also buy from local distributors. Whichever day ticket you use, make sure that you pick up your catalogues on that day, no matter what the weather or circumstances. We don't have bad weather, we only have inappropriate clothing. Be reliable and don't let your customers down. Be consistent and persistent. You will find the customers out there. All of the Clean Easy customers and all of the Betterware customers are probably wondering why they're not getting a catalogue anymore. If you want larger orders, demonstrate something when you're delivering orders to your customers. I've turned a £3 delivery into a £33 order before now by doing this. And if you use the products yourself, you'll know how easily they will actually sell on the doorstep. Be your own best customer. Be prepared to go the extra mile for any customer that has a query about a Viva MK product. Take it from me, there is no traffic jam on the extra mile. The customer on the extra mile will be a customer for life. Now, we often hear of slightly less orders in January. Be ahead of the game and give your customers a Christmas card in December. It's well worth the cost. Listen to your nearest successful upline. You wouldn't take slimming advice from a fat doctor, would you? Have a smile on your face and enjoy yourself. Now, these are just a few extras. No sunglasses. Not that you'd need them in Scotland. People need to be able to see your eyes. They will actually trust you when they can see your eyes. Now, if the gate is shut when you arrive, make sure it is when you leave, preferably without breaking. Do not walk over their lawn. Now, I'd normally say grass, but there's a lot of people who don't agree with my pronunciation. So hands up the people in the room that would actually say grass. Oh, wow! Yes!
Yes, hands up, who's this?
No, I'm coming to that later. Right. I was going to say, how many people say grass? Now, as Lynn says, we're in Scotland, so who says grass?
Must be the rest of them. Must be.
It's just you, Lynn. Anyway, I was going to say, as we see in the adverts, a dog is for life, not just for Christmas. Well, neither is demonstrating the products. You can do it all year through. And the simple thing is just pick something that you like and demonstrate it. It certainly worked for me. It got me to Mexico. Now, yeah, we're on click, haven't we, Steve? Got to click in the right place, though. Right, try to get your customers on consumables. They are wonderful. The customers try them, they like them, then they wash them down the drain, and then they order it again on a regular basis. Now for the ladies, a whole new exciting range of consumables. I find that the lipstick, because you don't have to keep reapplying it, it stays on for hours. And the nail varnish, which is actually really wonderful. Now there's a little tip here though, don't try and paint your nails when you're nervous because you're about to do a meeting, because my hands were shaking. Didn't actually do a very good job today. But it doesn't chip and it doesn't fade, and it's also very quick drying. My tip on this, and I think this is a really good way of selling it, get a bottle of the clear nail varnish. Michael, you better make sure you've got plenty of stock in. What I'm doing is actually painting one of my customers' fingernails. Now, that way, it will actually show them how quickly it dries. And I'm using clear because they can keep it on, and it will be a permanent reminder while that stays on that I showed them that nail varnish. The next time they get the catalogue through, there's a good chance they'll be ordering nail varnish. And as I say, some of my customers, when I've delivered their orders, have ordered the lipsticks and the nail varnishes. I've actually gone back to deliver those lipsticks and nail varnishes and shown them a bigger range, because I've took all of the different colours with me, and they've actually ordered more. So I've gone 3 weeks on the trot to the same customer delivering products. And I think that's pretty impressive. And like I say, as far as you guys are concerned, well, unless you fancy wearing lipstick and nail varnish, I'd find something else to demonstrate. And my favourite motto is to do a little, you get a little. Do a lot, and you get a lot. And Bob Webb would always tell me, if you want more, do more. Good luck. Thank you for listening. And if you need to know anything else about doorstep demos, see me in the break or later, because I'm staying for the meal. We will see you at the top. Can I just do one thing before I go? I want to take a picture of you.
Well, that's a good idea. So while she's taking a wee picture, you do it. I want to just say before the next person gets up, Kate's going to introduce the next speaker. That's Janet's very, very, very first time up in a big audience. She's live on Facebook. I want to hear, look at her, she's shaking. Wait till she does this to get her recognition. We will wait for you, Janet. You're a superstar. Everybody smile, wave to her.
I'm going to have to come right over there
Just
because it's...
Now while she's doing that, I can't concentrate on your picture, can you? See, we're a very friendly meeting here. She did this in Birmingham as well, did you not? Or just somebody else did. What? I want to hear a bit of noise because I think that was absolutely amazing.
Absolutely fabulous. Thanks so much for that. We've never known you on air, but you're absolutely brilliant. Thanks so much. Our next speaker today is here to talk to us today about something that might bring some of us out of a wee bit of our comfort zone. Remember, when you start a business like this, everything you do is out of your comfort zone. I've got a lady that's just started with me that's really nervous about logging onto the website because she's never done it before. But everything you do is just a little progression, and you're going to find people that have different comfort zones to yourself. People that think what Louise is about to talk to you about today is a really, really easy thing to do because they don't have any fear about it. But people who have never even thought about working online might really stop and think, I can never do that. But Louise is here to show you absolutely can, absolutely.